Close your eyes. Go to sleep. The man puts the spider in a hole 6 feet deep. The dirt fills its nose. The dirt fills its mouth. But the poor little spider can't claw its way out.
And the Spine-Tingling Spider-Man special is written by Saladin Ahmad, with art by Juan Ferreira, letters by VC's Joe Sabino and Joe Caramagna. And this book, as explained in the title, is a one-shot Spider-Man horror adventure with twists and turns worthy of the wall crawler. In this tale, Peter Parker has been in a state of exhaustion as he is constantly enthralled within a dream realm of sorts, of which he is transported to any time he hears the Song of Horror. It quickly becomes evident soon that he is not the only one that is experiencing these dreams, and sets out to discover who is causing it and why. Along the way, Peter battles robots, helps the people of New York with tests, and eventually comes face to face with a dream monster known as the Sleep Stealer, whom seeks to devour everyone's life force, including those Peter cares for the most. It's in the climax that Spider-Man manages to discover where the monster in the real world is coming from, but is soon thrust back into the dream realm where the very people of New York are turned into monsters and begin to attack the wall crawler. However, it's through one boy that is inspired by Spider-Man that everyone chooses to fight back against the Sleep Stealer, and their determination in turn inspires Spider-Man. Together, they defeat the monster, everyone returns normal, and Peter decides he is ready for a good night's rest when he closes his eyes and once again hears the Song of the Sleep Stealer. And I'll say, this book did it for me. I was entertained by this one shot, but I will say it's not a perfect book, so let's go ahead and start with the negatives. For one, I think the villain had a pretty interesting build-up with some really cool appearances, but by the end I found fairly underwhelming because of how easily he seemed to be defeated, despite there being the nod at the end that he is still around. And it's also worth noting that this is one of those types of stories that was digital first, so it's broken down into chapters now that it's in print, and you really do feel like that skip in time. Specifically between chapters 6 and 7, where Spider-Man at the end of chapter 6 is captured by the Sleep Stealer, but then at the beginning of chapter 7, he's locked up, he's got his Spider-Man mask torn up, so that tells us some big fight occurred, and we didn't get to see that. And I think this is one of those fights that could have demonstrated to the reader why Spider-Man fighting the Sleep Stealer one-on-one would have been futile versus, Spider-Man and the people of New York versus the Sleep Stealer. I just think it would have brought overall more satisfaction to their victory. Also, for a horror story, nobody died, because in a story like this, I would expect, at least a few no-name characters to get knocked off in order to properly establish the stakes. I mean, there is at one point where Peter thinks that Smythe is dead from the Sleep Stealer, but it turns out he was just catatonic, which I think really takes away from the impact that that scene had, because it was the scene that said that, okay, no, this is very much life and death. But then I was left thinking, oh, maybe it's not life and death. I guess they're just catatonic or comatose, something. Because being a one-shot, I kind of concluded that this was not initially meant to be part of canon. Therefore, if it's not part of canon, I say go ahead and play with the toys a little bit. But if it is meant to be canon, well, then just create some characters that you can kill off. And I also think the story just doesn't delve deep enough into what exactly happens when the Sleep Stealer, steals your sleep. I mean, we see that the people go into, this sort of dreamlike world and whatnot, but what happens if they do die? Do they just stay there in that world, or will they still pass on to the next life as normal? If they die there, will they cease to exist? And again, this is one of those scenarios that I think the story could have answered that would have given, I think, more weight to the overall story. Specifically giving Spider-Man a reason to be triumphant over the Sleep Stealer. But that's enough of the negatives. Let's move on to the positives. To start, I think this is a very artistic book. Everything from the look of the dream world to the sleep stealer's design, and even a few pages and panels that really showcase the horror aspect of the story. Spider-Man, I think, was done really well, especially on some of these close-up shots. You know, the black outlines around the eyes, like one gave a few of them these sort of jagged pointed edges that looked really cool. And this shot was overall, mwah. I think this book also conveys well that Spider-Man is a hero of the people, that he not only fights the bad guys, but he will stop and take his time to help out somebody. As particularly showcased when the delivery guy hurt his leg and Spider-Man decided, yeah, I'm just gonna go make your delivery run for you because, well, as you said, you need the money in order to feed your family. Then towards the end of the story, there's the sequence where Spider-Man inspires the people of New York, and the people of New York in turn inspire Spider-Man. And overall just shows this symbiotic relationship that Spider-Man has with the people of New York and how, in a way, they both inspire each other to be the best of themselves. Also, there is that song that is associated with this book, which was recorded and released, and I will say it was a little creepy. It definitely helps establish the tone of the story, and if you want to listen to that song yourself, hey, link in the description down below. And overall, I conclude that, again, the story has really good atmosphere, amazing artwork, a villain that is interesting, but by the end, you might not feel like you know this villain well enough to really feel the weight of the situation. This is one of the scenarios where I think this type of book would have been better released as an OGN with a few additional pages to really flesh out the villain. And I'm not talking about it in a way of like knowing the Sleep Stealer's entire history, but just seeing more of the effects that he has on the people of New York. So it's a book that's almost half and half, but the good, I think, just kind of creeps above the negative a little bit. So I'd put it just slightly above average by the end. And with that, I'm going to score the Spine-Tingling Spider-Man Special a 6.5 out of 10. So the Spine-Tingling Spider-Man Special, what did you think about this book if you've read it? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please leave your comments in the comment section below.
And if you like this video, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with some friends, subscribe if you're not subscribed already, and ring that notification bell for more comic book content. And if you're wondering what to watch next, consider one of these 2 videos. Alright, take care, have a great day, and as always, stay geeky.